Hello, I'm Kim Thompson, and welcome to Spirit Primer, where I try to make sense out of living life in what is truly a new dimension. And whether you believe it or not, we have actually entered into new times, and my goal and intentions with Spirit Primer are to give tips and information about how to access and harness these amazing new energies that are available to absolutely everybody. This is not the domain of, hippie gurus or anything like that. This is for everybody. In the last several months, I had the pleasure of meeting our guest today, Viola Rose, and I met her in a workshop called Awakening the Illuminated Heart, which is based on the life's work of, are you ready? Drunvalo Melchizedek. And we could talk for hours about Drunvalo and just his work alone. But today we're going to talk really about what it means to be living in your heart, because as it turns out, one of the things that's really shifted in this new era is that the power of the heart is really paramount now. So we're moving out of our brains and into our hearts, and there's actually a heart that resides inside a brain that resides inside the heart, and Viola's going to tell us all about that. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Viola Rose. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, dear. I'm so happy to be here today.
Yay. So let's go quick because I know we want to keep these interviews pretty short. Tell me how you started on this path. I mean, I know we have something in common. We both went to nutrition school, and we actually even have some marketing courses in common. But so we were on the same path a little bit. And then tell me how you got right where you are today.
Okay, well, I did go to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition a few years back to become a holistic health coach, and it was exciting, and it felt like it was probably the most aligned thing that I could do at the and yet it still wasn't quite it wasn't quite enough, and I was feeling a really deep calling to open my heart, not in a abstract way, just in a really profound, clear way. And somebody recommended this book, Living in the Heart by Drunvalo Melchizedek. I think I have it right here, this book right here. And I devoured the book and in one day, and then devoured every book that Drunvalo had, and managed to get into a training for his brand new workshop called Awakening the Illuminated Heart in Sedona in 2011. It was the first time he had offered it to the public. And I walked away from that workshop saying, this is the most important thing I have ever done in my entire life for myself. So it changed everything. And then when he put out a call to train people from around the world to become facilitators of this work, I jumped at it with my whole heart and soul and every cell of my being. I dove in, became a teacher of this work, and now it's what I'm doing. And I think I've left the health coaching thing so far behind, I don't even really think about it anymore. I'm doing this with every day, all the time, in some way or another. I'm living this awakening, illuminated heart.
As you're talking, I'm actually having that, rush of, I guess it's that heart energy. I'm really feeling surprisingly emotional because the work is so profound. And what I can say, what I can share is that Drunvalo has not trained very many teachers or coaches or facilitators, however it is you refer to yourselves. And we're lucky in the Northwest to have one of the very few people that is carrying on the work of Drunvalo. So it's really exciting that I was able to, go work with you in Portland, and I know you do other workshops in the area and actually in other states. So we'll talk about that later. So tell me, let's just talk about the heart then. So I'm just going to let you go, and let's talk about the importance of what it means to be living in the heart and how the heart works and all of that, and brain, and you go.
Okay, well, living in the heart, to me, what that means is creating your life, because we're all creators. We're creating our lives all the time, whether we realize it or not. And most people are walking around in this time creating their life from their brain. And the brain is polarized, and so the brain is in duality. And when we create our life from our brain, we create what we want, but we also create the opposite. because that is the nature of duality. So we end up on this sort of roller coaster of up and down, good and bad, positive, negative, and that's just seems to be how it goes when you're living in your brain. And so when you really learn to drop down and get into your heart in a very clear, exact way and begin to set up essentially and live your life in your heart, then you are living your life from this place of unity consciousness, because there is no duality in the heart. There is only unity, there is only love. And so when you start creating your life from there, then you're not on the roller coaster anymore. And for myself, I have the experience that my life is like a river of grace all the time. I'm just flowing in this river of grace. It has been a profound shift in my life. And living in my heart is carving this pathway from the brain, traveling down inside of your body. And this is talked about in the Living in the Heart book by John Below. Traveling inside of your body, learning to enter into the sacred space of your heart and the tiny space within that sacred space, which is pure bliss and unity. There's only love there. And so you could also feel love if you were in the mind and think that you're in your heart, because it could be love of the mind, but it will be love and. It'll always be love and some judgment, or love and some. But when you're truly in your heart, there's only love. And so that to me is living in the heart. And the daily practice of that for me is a continuous dropping back in this pathway that I have carved out to get into my heart, physically traveling in my body. And so I just return there as many times as I need to in the day, so that I'm hanging out there more than anywhere else.
Excellent. And so I just want to point out that literally when you say that the brain is polarized, that's not sort of metaphorically speaking. Literally, we have two sides of our brain. And I think what's so fascinating as I start to study more of this work is how the reality of how we are constructed translates to much of this more mystical, airy-fairy stuff. It starts to make sense. So let's see here. Okay.
And I would just say to add to that,
yeah,
this information and this experiential way of living can be approached from a scientific vantage point, and it also can be approached from a metaphysical vantage point. They both meet in the middle. What maybe quantum physics would call the unified field. Maybe John Below Melchizedek would call the tiny space in your heart. But they both point to exactly the same place, this place of unity consciousness.
Right. And so, I've only known you to be the person that I know you as, right? That this person living in grace. But could you give an example of how before you started this work, like, maybe how it was that sort of love and, like how you were before you started doing this work?
Well, I certainly have been on a spiritual path since I was about 22. I'm 43 now. So it's been over 20 years of focusing in this way. So the change wasn't necessarily so super drastic, but it may be more in subtle ways. And I can think that the most obvious thing is that I'm not having the swing in the opposite direction, where sometimes things would go according to my highest wishes and sometimes they wouldn't. And sometimes they would be negative interactions that would kind of pop up out of the blue, or a fender bender, just random little things like that would happen and kind of throw your game off for the day or something. I just don't seem to run into those things anymore that just throw my game off. I'm just kind of in grace, and everything is really smooth and blessed. I feel like everything is just really blessed.
And I think if that were the only benefit, oh my God, it's I know for me, and it's just shifted in the last few months, but it is that sort of everything seems like a blessing, and I'm not having, even though I'm still clearing, I think a lot of old stuff that doesn't serve me. While I'm clearing it, I'm actually aware that it's a clearing and not a, oh, what a bummer, dramatic event. It has a different flavor to it, and it's I can't say that I've been in the sacred or tiny space of my heart yet, but I know I'm really close. So it's super exciting.
Oh, you're so in your heart. Look at you.
I know. I feel it feels like it, but I would, like I said, I would say that there have definitely been some, even in the last few weeks. I think with the solar flares or whatever's going on, there's been some, muck that has bubbled to the surface, and um, while it hasn't been pleasant for my husband, it's been necessary for me to clear, and it is all in service of my heart. I know that, and that's it's it's hard to put words to all of this stuff. It's so. Um, I think we as humans at this time, before the shift, don't even have a sense of what it is like. Don't have a sense that we can live in peace, harmony, and unity. We don't have a history of it that is within our memory banks.
Right.
And so really what you're talking about and what it seems like the Awakening the Illuminated Heart does is bring us back to a time in the history beyond our memory where we did live from this place, and it is possible.
My cat came to visit.
Yeah, they do that. My dog came over too.
One thing I want to add to that is so true is that, yes, I was saying that maybe, these things don't happen as much in my life anymore, but it's not that duality isn't happening around me. I still am here. We're still here in this kind of dualistic reality, but more it's about your vantage point. Your vantage point is shifted from the brain to the heart. And you can look at ascension, which is talked about so much these days, as maybe you hear all these different things about what ascension is or a shift into another dimension. But essentially, it could just be thought of as a movement from the brain back to the heart, whereas the fall of man could be thought of as a movement from the heart up to the brain. So it's this shift in vantage point of living in your heart, living from this place of unity. Suddenly the world just doesn't seem as dualistic, and you're not judging all the things around you in the same way, and therefore not perpetuating the duality, just like you said about how these things were coming up for you, and you were like realizing that they're here for you to heal. That's such a shift in vantage point of not being the victim, not being stuck in good or bad anymore, and that is really what living in the heart can do.
Yeah, I'm actually even looking forward to them now. I'm like, bring it, because I realize the relief on the other side and the release on the other side is so wonderful. I'm actually, I don't go around trying to, start fights or anything, but I'm looking to release all that no longer serves me. So, okay, well, that kind of talks about the benefits, but are there other ways that you could see, besides the sort of roller coaster that you talk about, are there sort of other things that you could say that this particular brand of, what do you call it? It is a meditation, but it's what is it? How do you describe the work that's in the workshop?
Well, it is a way of, for me, it's a way of life. It's a practice, a daily practice,
Okay.
and a focal point of how I'm choosing to walk my walk in this world every day, and choosing to continuously go back to the heart and be in the heart, and begin my day with a meditation that brings me into my heart, so I kind of set up camp there for the day. It's a choice. It's a vantage point. And I think the benefits run across everything. There's nothing that is limited more to me now than was before, because I can still function from my brain anytime I choose. It's just a matter of knowing that the heart is sort of what's leading the show, and that the brain is a great task doer, and you can give it great assignments. And okay, you're going to focus on balancing my checkbook for the next hour. Go for it, brain. And so everything is still just as doable, and yet from this place of grace and ease. So I think across the board,
Yeah.
it's just for me, I can't imagine living any other way. And even though I'm not there all the time either, it's a daily practice. It's becoming more and more obvious when I'm not there, because I have so much more experience of being there that when I'm not, I feel it. It doesn't feel good. I feel the judgment come in, or the frustration when I'm in my car in traffic, something like that. And I'm like, oh, drop in. I have this homing beacon sort of radiating from my heart.
Yeah, there's I guess it's true. There's not a place that the heart doesn't touch. So the benefits would be whatever you would want them to be. Um, The problem I'm discovering with this interviewing process is I have a thought and then darn it, I lose it. That's okay. um, so, oh, I know what it was. So, do people like? I wasn't much of a meditator. I did a little sort of inconsistent meditating before I came to you and participated in the workshop. But are there sort of any prerequisites? I mean, this isn't just for people that are deep meditators, or what would you say the prerequisite is to do this
Well,
kind of work?
I think, first of all, a person needs to be drawn to it. This work certainly isn't for everyone, and John Below will even say, like, this is not the only way to get into the heart or to activate your light body, the Merkaba, which is also talked about in the workshop, which we can save that whole topic for
Yeah, the
another day.
Merkaba's juicy.
But it's a way, and it is a way that is beautiful, and is certain people are drawn to it. And so you have to resonate with the work and with the information of John Below himself. And so if you think you might be interested, watch some of his YouTube videos. On my website, I have all his question and answer videos posted. I have lots of information. And then you can go to his website, johnbelow.net, and sort of tune in. And then for taking the workshop in particular, reading this book, Living in the Heart, by John Below, is actually a prerequisite to taking the workshop. Because the workshop sort of takes off where the book ends. And so to have that foundation and to have learned about getting into the sacred space of your heart, then you're ready to do it in the group context of the workshop. And we have an entire day that is a healing day. Some people can't quite get into their heart. They make this journey down and they get stopped. Sometimes right about here, they feel a pain in their chest or some trauma comes up because there's emotional wounding, protecting around the heart so that you don't feel that wound. And so some people think that they can't get into their heart, so they're not ready for this kind of work, and that isn't necessarily the case. It's why we spend an entire day doing a beautiful healing ceremony all afternoon to heal the traumas in the heart, so that way you can do it. So really there just needs to be the desire and the readiness to want to be in your heart and to sort of absorb these teachings, which are sort of like a toolbox. You kind of walk away with a toolkit of everything that you might need to walk the path of consciousness and heart-based living and ascension. This workshop is the culmination of 40 years of research and workshop facilitation by John Below. It's sort of his masterpiece, and it really is. Every time I get to the honor of facilitating this work, I am brought to tears at some point by the mastery of it and how it really does take everyone one step to the next, into this deep, deep open heart space, which you've experienced, so you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And I even signed on again because I enjoyed it so much. It was really incredible. And when you say 40 years worth of work and research, John Below has received information from, shamans and medicine people and spirit beings and, that nobody else has received. So this is, he's an outlier and a forerunner of this work of the evolution of the human spirit. So we're so blessed. I'm so blessed to get the information from you, who got the information from him. So it's so cool. I love it. I was drawn to John Below after many years of hearing about him, but not knowing who he was. And this work, while I continue to, look here and look there, and part of the work that I do is this, the culling of information. But the work was really profound in my life, and so I encourage anybody to look into it. So Viola, tell us how people could find you. I know that you live in Portland, but you do workshops in Hawaii. You do workshops you were in Montana last time I talked to you.
So I live in Portland, Oregon, so I'm based here, and I teach the workshop regularly here. But I also, because I'm on the West Coast, I'll go up to Seattle, down to Ashland. Currently, I'm working on some workshops in the Bay Area and Mount Shasta, and so essentially, I'll go wherever I'm invited. So I went out to Hawaii this winter and did a couple workshops, and I'll go wherever, actually.
Nice.
Somebody just has to say, hey, come here and do a workshop. I'll help you facilitate it, and I will go.
Right.
Because it's really all I want to do is share this work with whoever wants to.
So tell people how they can reach you.
So I have a website. It's called dreamthenewdream.blogspot.com. And on there, I have my upcoming schedule. I have a little bio about me. I have a bio about Drunvalo. I have information about the workshop, intro videos, all kinds of things to explore just to get more of a sense of the work and to find out if it maybe resonates with you. So that's dreamanewdream.blogspot.com. And I
Great.
also have a page on Drunvalo's website as well. You can go to drunvalo.net and click on the School of Remembering, and then on there is all his teachers. It's about 120 teachers spaced all around the world in all kinds of remote places. And so on there, I'm also listed under Viola Rose.
Great. And so, is there one thing that you could suggest that people can take away today, um, that can help them to maybe just experience a little bit of being in their heart?
Yes, there's two things I can recommend. One would be to read that book, Living in the Heart. Even if you don't think that you might like to take the workshop, the book is amazing, and I think that it would help anyone to find a concrete pathway and method to get into your heart. And yet, anyone at any time can just kind of drop what they're doing, close their eyes, take a couple deep breaths, feel themselves connect down into the earth, and feel love for Mother Earth, and feel love for Father Sky, and feel them both in their heart. And just doing that for just a couple minutes will do so much for just reorienting your vantage point here.
Absolutely. That's my favorite part of that meditation is that moment, that Holy Trinity. I don't know if holy is the right word, but it feels holy for some reason,
Yes.
of
Yeah.
Mother Earth, Father Sky, and myself. And even to hear myself say these words, 6 months ago, I would have said, ah.
Yeah.
But now it's a very real connection that happens, and the earth is alive, and the sky is alive, and we are alive, and we are truly all one. So I want to thank you so much, Viola, for doing this with me. It's I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you in June.
Oh,
And
thank you, dear. You're so precious. It's delightful to just
thank
have
you,
time to converse with you.
thank you so much. And so we'll talk to you soon.
All right, dear. Many blessings.
Many blessings.